In this episode, we uncover the tools you need to kickstart your content creation journey and take it to the next level. We dive into Dr. Portela's personal setup and his favorite tools. Remember, start small, use what you already have, whether it's your smartphone or natural light. Focus on building consistency and building your skills in content creation. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Med Creator 101. I'm Mimi Banks, and I'm here with my amazing co-host, Dr. Dustin Portela.
Glad to be here. It's nice to connect again. It's holiday season, and everybody's busy, so it's good we could get this done.
So busy. And you know what's funny? Being in California, I can't really even tell that it's holiday season. As I look out my window, the sun is shining, so it doesn't even feel like winter or holidays.
We're definitely cold here. A little skiff of snow already, so winter is officially in Idaho.
Wow. Well, I don't even know what winter means in California. I know I turned on my fireplace, but I digress. I thought it was so fun the last time how we did some burning questions and icebreaker questions just to get to know each other rapid fire. I know I learned a little bit about you. I thought we'd try it again.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Burning question. How long does it take you to get ready?
You know, if I have all the time in the world, I'll wake up usually an hour before I need to get out the door. But there have been a couple moments when I've overslept my alarm and I can get out the door in under 10 minutes.
That's what I would imagine. I would imagine you to be like a very efficient person getting ready.
Yeah, I don't have bad hair days, so that makes it easier.
Save some time, just like a little bit. Except though, do you have to shave your head sometimes?
I do. I usually shave it at night though.
I should share that with Mike. My husband has a similar hairstyle as Dr. Portela and often shaves his head in the morning. Second question. Who was your first celebrity crush?
My first celebrity crush, I would have to go with Elizabeth Hurley.
Interesting. I wouldn't have called that one either. You and Hugh Grant.
Yeah.
The last question I have, what's one thing about you that surprises people?
Oh, I think it surprises people when I post that I live on like a mini farm. I've got horses and chickens, and we've had rabbits, we've had ducks, we've had all sorts of things. We had pigs this summer. So got a kind of a little hobby farm, and I think that's a surprise to a lot of people.
I know you actually don't share any content about your farm, but that's why we do this. So let's dive in. Today, we're really going to talk about the essentials that every content creator needs to know to build a successful online presence. From lighting to microphones, I really want to talk to you about tools. The tools that you think that are the essential for every content creator to have.
Yeah, there's a number of different things that we could touch on. I will just kind of preface this conversation with the idea that a tool is not going to make you a content creator if you don't have good content, but good lighting, audio, camera equipment can make you stand out if you are becoming more polished on your content creation. And that's not to say you have to be perfect when you start, but you can't just buy tools and expect that that's going to make you into a full-time influencer, because you still have to be creative in your content. And that's a whole nother conversation that we'll have on the podcast, is kind of camera presence and creativity and everything. But in the end, there are some valuable pieces of equipment that people can benefit from by getting started, and when to upgrade your equipment. And that is an important part of the content creation journey.
That's actually a really good point, because I think when people think they have all the things, like I bought a gimbal, I've never used it. Or even this microphone, I think that I'm going to be a professional podcaster. So I would say to start, like, what tools right now is a must-have? Like, what can you not live without?
So when somebody is just getting started, and this was when I got started with content creation, and I know that end of 2019 was a completely different world when it comes to TikTok and Instagram. I really just started with my iPhone. I did not have any special lighting. I did not have even a tabletop stand to put my phone on. I was just propping it up on books, and I was recording, holding it in my hand or having my staff hold it. And so you really have a very powerful tool just in your iPhone or your Android if you're a green bubble text person. And that is a great place to get started, because there are a lot of tools you can put on your phone, from editing equipment. And that is really all you need to start. But when you start to purchase equipment, the two main things that come to mind is, one, a ring light, so that you can have good, consistent lighting. Before you purchase a ring light, a lot of people will just record in front of a window that has the sun, and that often looks really good, but it limits the time of day that you can film. And then the second thing would be some type of lav mic. A lavalier microphone is going to increase the audio quality rather than just speaking into the phone, where it's kind of interesting as we look at online videos, and short form video in particular has taken over social media, and people will tolerate bad video quality much more than they'll tolerate bad audio quality. So I think that before people go and purchase better cameras and things, invest in a lav microphone, a lavalier microphone. And that can be a wired microphone that plugs right into the bottom of your phone, or you could do wireless. There's a lot of wireless options. I have my favorites. But if you're just getting started and you want to keep your investment small, a lavalier microphone and a ring light is a great place to start.
So for the people who've never heard of a ring light or a lavalier, can you just explain a little bit more what they are?
A ring light is just like it sounds. It's a big circular ring and it has LED lights. Yeah, we've got one here on Mimi's video for those that are tuning in on video. And what the ring light does is it provides consistent illumination around your face. So it's meant for talking head videos where you are the subject, the center of attention, and it gives even lighting across the face. So when you're just getting started and you want good lighting, it's going to do that. It's usually got a diffuser on it. Some of them have the ability to change the color grade a little bit or the brightness intensity so that you can get a look on the camera that makes you look a little bit better. You don't want too harsh of lighting. And a ring light is inexpensive. There's many companies that make them. You can get a floor, one that from Newer is a brand that I've purchased from. I have no affiliation with them. They're good products. They're reasonably priced. You can get little tabletop ones that sit right on your desk that are even less expensive, a little bit smaller. But a ring light is going to provide that constant illumination. And there's so many places you can go on lighting before that. A lavalier microphone is usually those little small clip-on microphones you see people wear. They usually clip on the shirt collar or on a tie. And like I said, they can be wired and hook right into your phone where you don't have to do any setup. The phone is automatically going to convert. You just have to make sure that you're getting the right connection. So when you purchase them on Amazon or wherever, if you need a lightning connector for an older iPhone or a USB-C connector for a newer iPhone or an Android phone, you don't want to buy one with the wrong connector. Many people that have been in the content creation game for a little longer, especially if you do travel or you want more than one subject in your video to have a microphone, will be doing wireless lav microphones. Some of the more popular brands there are going to be from DJI. They make a lot of drones, a lot of camera equipment, a lot of audio equipment, both for consumers and for professionals. And then Rode, RODE, is another brand that has some really great audio equipment, depending on whatever you want. But they do make wireless lavalier microphones as well as other type of microphones you might put on a professional camera.
The other thing that I would say, I mean, this is kind of ironic, but I think it's important, is to make sure that you have a good fully charged battery in your phone, because I can't tell you how many times we've gone to film content and realized later on that you have 25% left and your battery is dying. So even like a battery pack is just like a nice thing to have always, just to make sure you have that backup.
Whenever I travel, I have an external battery charger. Mine is from a brand called Anker, ANKER. They make a lot of good equipment. Again, no affiliation with any of these companies that I'm mentioning. And I charge that up. It can charge my phone like 7 times on a trip. So I charge it up once. I keep it in the water bottle holder of my backpack. It's always there, ready to charge me up. If I am on my phone a whole bunch on an airplane ride and I need to create content when I land, I can plug it in during an Uber ride and it's charged up by the time I get on set.
Smart. Now let's talk apps. You mentioned apps. You mentioned using an iPhone. What are your go-to apps?
When I first started my content creation journey, I edited all of my videos on the phone. And initially, I started just with TikTok. The TikTok app is actually very robust for creating content. They have even upgraded those features over the last year where you can now cut and remove and switch around different clips. If you said something at the end of the video and you want to move that to the front of the video, has a lot of flexibility there. Then you can move into other apps. I used an app called InShot for a while. InShot. InShot, I just learned it. I was good at it. I don't know that it was the most robust. And I know nowadays a lot of people are using CapCut. CapCut directly integrates with TikTok because it's owned by the same parent company. So it's pretty seamless about creating content and exporting it directly to TikTok. But you can save that video to your phone and use it on Instagram or YouTube Shorts as well. So if you're intimidated by the more technical aspects of editing video on your computer, then the apps on the phone are very user-friendly and have lots of tips and tricks that they'll teach you along the way as you learn to edit video there. Nowadays, I edit almost all of my video on my laptop, and I just have become more proficient with some of the tools on the laptop. Some of them are a little bit technical, like Final Cut Pro, I use pretty frequently. But there's also some good AI tools that make editing as easy as editing a paragraph of text.
Can you share more about that? I'm so fascinated by AI, and I know you use it a lot.
Yeah, AI, obviously it's taking over the world and we may find ourselves in Skynet soon, but there's a couple of apps that I've found to be pretty helpful. One of them is called Descript. So Descript is designed as an AI video editor for those that don't want to look at the waveform and chop up your video and move things around. It will transcribe the things that you say in your video and put it as a block of text. And then you can just edit the text and it will automatically edit the video for you. So if you say something, you mess up and you start it over again, you can just go and find the part where you messed up and delete the text and it removes it from the video. And then if you have a tendency to use filler words like ums and ahs, I know, things like that, you can set it up to recognize your filler words and with one click of a button, remove all of those rather than going through the video and cutting them out individually. And you can have it cut out dead space. So if you pause for a minute while you're thinking of what you might say next, you can tell it to remove any dead space greater than half of a second, for example, and it will do that at the click of a button. And it's really made, especially long form content, if you like to do YouTube videos, very easy to edit in a short amount of time.
That's incredible. That's really a game changer because editing can take so long, specifically if you are doing it of yourself when you're just starting, because I'm sure people want to make it perfect. And so you can get caught in that loop of editing. Game changer and time saver. So for people who are just starting, very curious, I mentioned a gimbal. Can you talk more about that? Are there tools that maybe it's travel tools that you use that are helpful for filming?
When you are traveling, there's basic things that will make your content creation a little bit easier. Oftentimes when I'm traveling, I will take with me a car mount for a phone, the kinds that will suction cup onto your dashboard and you can put your phone in there because they're very small. You can throw them in any bag. And then if I get to my hotel and I want to put that on the mirror and record a skincare routine, I can do that without having to set up a cumbersome tripod, or I can plop that right on the desk and stick my phone on it. And it makes it really easy. There's some really travel-friendly tripods that are lightweight. Some of them are going to be more robust than others and hold up to bangs and bumps. I have one that's a little bit more expensive now from a company called Peak Design, but it's designed for travel and photography. But I have adapters to clip my phone in. If I want to bring my bigger camera, I can. I think a lot of people have seen these gimbals where you can snap your phone into it. Again, DJI makes one and you can clip your phone in. And then as you move your gimbal, the phone will remain stable. So if you're walking through during a tour of a factory or something, or you're on the go in your clinic, it will just provide a more steady shot. There's also little cameras that if you don't want to use your phone, something like the DJI Osmo, which is a 4K camera, but it's all in one unit and it is a gimbal in and of itself. So it will do both horizontal and vertical video and makes content creation very easy if you don't want to bring a bigger DSLR camera when you're traveling.
Right, because if you're shooting content by yourself, of yourself, or even in your clinic, I would say, part of that content creation process, as you mentioned, is creating good content. And that means having a steady hand.
Yeah, if you're super shaky, I do reaction videos a lot of times, and some of them are really good about focusing on the subject when they're doing a pimple pop or something. And some of them, the camera's bouncing all over, and those videos are more difficult to follow. And so if your camera isn't steady, if you can't keep the subject in the center of the frame, people are going to lose interest more quickly. So sometimes those tools are helpful. When I've traveled to La Roche-Posay in France and we're doing a tour of their treatment center, I've used a gimbal as we walk through and listen to their guides talk about the treatments, and it just makes it a lot better for the viewer in the end result.
And so then how do you handle lighting? So we know that when you're in a controlled environment, you can either use the window or have a ring light of some kind. And the ring light, just for everybody to know, comes in a variety of prices. So you don't have to get the most expensive one. There are very cost-effective ones that you can get that either, as Dr. Portela said, goes onto your computer, even goes on your phone, just to make that content creation process easier.
I don't know that I've ever noticed a difference in somebody's ring light if they spent more money or less. there's not a lot of difference in what you get for the price point. Some are just going to hold up a little more if you are traveling with them, for example. But I haven't used a ring light in quite some time now in my content creation. The basic setup, if you are going to be in a place where you record frequently, is to have something called a key light. And the key light is going to be the main light that illuminates you from the front. And a lot of times people will put that slightly off center, so you get just a little bit of shadowing on one side of your face, and it provides a little more depth to the video. And then if you have the space for it and you've purchased a second light, it's pretty common to do a side light on the opposite side from your key light. So if your key light is slightly on your right side, you'll put a softer light on the left side. And this is usually going to be more contrasting, so it's not going to be the same color grade. And a little bit of this is technical for those that are listening. So my key light right now is set to daylight. So it's 5500 Kelvin. And so it's a white, bright light. And then a side light, I'm typically going to make a softer yellow, and it provides a little bit of contrast in the video if you are in a place where you're filming frequently. And now I use a professional light for my side light, but for a long time in my videos, I just used a lamp with a yellow bulb in it, and that worked great. And that's really cheap. I just picked it up at Target or Walmart or something like that. And it was really cheap and robust. So there's a lot of flexibility in there. So don't think that just because somebody has a particular setup that you need to mimic that, especially when you're just starting out in your content creation journey.
Though I will say something you did mention is think about where you're shooting most often and try to set up a setup that works for you in that same place so you can get used to the light. You can figure out the best light. You can figure out the setup that works for the best content creation. Whether it's in your office and when you're looking in your office to see how the lighting is, whether you have fluorescent lights and if you need to have that light that Dr. Portela mentioned, or whether you're doing it at home or someplace else.
Yeah. Now in my studio, when I built a new office, I built a studio with sound panels and everything because I do content 2-3 times a week. And so I had it set up where with the sound panels, the sound is very good. I don't use any of the built-in lighting in the room. Those are always off when I'm recording, and I illuminate my set strictly with studio lighting.
I'm learning so much. So, and for those of you who have video and we show this video, I am sitting here in my stepson's room with a ring light. So the two very different approaches going on over here. Very curious to hear what everybody is doing there. And I think that what's important to know is as you're going along, as you're starting, you want to see what works for you. You don't have to be super technical, and there are tools for everybody around.
Yeah, there's no standard on this, and you got to find what works for you. And in the beginning, nobody told us what you should buy, what you should use. And so it was pretty common in the dermfluencer community. We would talk to each other all the time, and I might see somebody and think like, your lighting looks great. What are you using? And then I would look at that and I'd say, all right, I want to get that. And I might see somebody else and say, your sound is incredible. What microphone are you using? And then I might decide to pick up that microphone or something equivalent. And in some of these circumstances, paying more for audio or lighting equipment, with the exception of a ring light, will get you better quality. But again, you can evolve over the course of your content creation career. You don't have to start. And as you get better on camera and your follower count grows, all of that stuff, you can upgrade your equipment as you choose to. But if you have something that's working for you, you're crushing it, keep doing what you're doing.
Well said. And finally, I have a question. Is there anything that you bought that you thought you would use, or maybe you got sucked into a gimmick or you saw it on TikTok that you don't use as much?
So I thought that when I traveled, I would be taking my DSLR camera with me everywhere just because the image quality is great. And I bought a great big gimbal where I could mount my DSLR camera on there. And I mean, it had to be battery powered in and of itself. And it was big and bulky. And I remember taking that with me the first time I went to La Roche-Posay. And I was like so out of the ordinary. You know, everybody's using their phones. Maybe a couple people have a gimbal for their phone. And I've got this big old contraption. And I mean, I had to haul it all the way to France in my suitcase. So I ended up only using it on that trip. I never used it again. And I ended up selling it.
The DSLR or the gimbal or both?
The gimbal. I still use the DSLR in my studio, but I don't travel with it anymore. So I thought that this was going to be a game changer in my content. And it turned out that for a one-man show traveling for social media, it was just too much. And I just like tech, and I tend to purchase the newest iPhone, and I always want great equipment, but I went a little overboard on that one.
Wait, that's amazing. So wait, are you a Nikon guy or a Canon guy?
I'm a Sony guy.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I like the Sony mirrorless cameras.
I have a Nikon DSLR that I like to think that I was going to use. I was a photographer for a very long time and had film cameras and always tried to stay up to date on DSLRs. And I find that I just never pick it up. I think that I'm going to take pictures. When I had a baby, I brought the camera with me to the hospital, never took a photo, never use it.
You know, the phones have gotten so good and they're so much easier.
Amazing. Well, we want to hear from you. We want to hear what tools you're using. And if this was helpful for you, what tools do you love? What tools do you hate? Feel free to tag us in your comments and let us know what you think.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Med Creator 101. We hope you found it helpful to learn a little bit about the tools and equipment that might help you on your content creation journey. If you have questions about anything that we've talked about, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you and do whatever we can to help you on your content creation journey. Join us for the next episode where we're going to keep discussing all things Medfluencer to elevate you in your career.